Hi, I'm Evie, and I'm one of the co-founders of Disaster Mag.
Hi, I'm Stella, and I'm another one of the co-founders. There's three of us. One of us couldn't be here today, and I mostly write the words.
Oh, and I do graphics and pictures and kind of dabble in everything.
Finances and everything.
And I am Jeff Crespi. I am Jeff Crespi, concert music photographer out here in Asbury Park for the Stone Pony and other venues. And we are just going to have this nice little chat about music and life.
We do a little bit of that as well. That's kind of how we met Jeff. So we, like we said, run a magazine called Disaster for a little bit over a year now. And we met Jeff in photo pits at the Stone Pony, at the Asbury Lanes, a bunch of different shows that he shoots.
So we kind of specialize, we got our start kind of covering local bands here and getting more photo passes into the pit, and then that's that's how we met Jeff. Do you want to kind of lead here?
We have some questions, but you can ask us them first if you want.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the Disaster Magazine is a homegrown magazine with you guys and your friend.
Yeah.
And so it started about a year ago. And so tell me what your opinions or perspective is on the music scene right now.
I think now, especially in a world coming out of COVID, the music scene is thriving because I think especially coming out of the pandemic, people are so hungry for live music and live connection. Like, it's really special, I think now more than ever, to be in small rooms like the Pony with your favorite singer, full of people who are also fans of the same people as you. So I think the scene is really thriving right now, and especially with local bands as well.
I think it's changed a lot since before. I'm not going to lie and say that we have a lot of experience with the music scene before COVID, because we definitely got our start afterwards. Although we were frequent concert goers before, we just weren't in it the same way we are now, and that's a really big change. Being a fan of music and a person that goes to concerts versus a person that is behind the scenes and knows what that's like, versus a person that just goes to one or two concerts a year, just goes to a big one like a stadium show, like an Ed Sheeran, like a Harry Styles, like a Taylor Swift. Where you stand in that is very much different, and it changes a lot. But I think what Evie said, people are craving small rooms, big connections, and I have two opinions on that. I completely agree with that personally, and I think that all of my favorite photographers shoot crowd shots, and that's what their specialty is, and they specialize in connection, in the moments that artists reach over the barricade, in the moments that they're in the pit in the crowd. So I would say that's definitely I forget her last name, but her name's Amanda. She's on tour with Del Water Gap right now, who just came to Stone Pony. He was incredible. That's Lindsay Alexis, the head of Pleaser Magazine. That's William Wark, who's on tour with Driver Era. They're good at showing how artists interact with fans and why they deserve to be on stage. Because being on stage and giving a performance are two completely different things. I also want to say that I think that more artists should be more comfortable doing smaller tours than they can. And I know that makes less money for them, but I think it gives a really different experience to the fan, and that makes them appreciate the artists that they know so much more. And we're seeing a lot of artists over-aim what they can sell, and try and do theater tours when they're not ready, or try and do stadiums when they should stay in theaters. And I think that the Stone Pony is a good place, a good middle ground, and a lot more people should be aiming for those places instead of aiming too high.
Yeah, so I actually love that. I was never a fan of stadium shows, even going to shows back in my day, which I was not a big show goer back in my day. I was a club boy. Okay. I was a dance club boy in the early 80s back in New York City. So I did that a lot more. But concerts for me was not a thing back then, because to me they were very impersonable. And so when I started going back to live shows here in New Jersey, and which Starland Ballroom was the first club I ever walked into about 19 years ago, I was blown away. I was literally blown away at not the bands, but blown away by the entire atmosphere of a show that was starting in my mind from 2 hours before doors opened, right? Because I had a little kid and I would have to get there early so we could get online to be somewhere up front. So we would be online for every show, just talking to people that were around us. And so we had a whole experience before we even got in the venue. Then we get in the venue, and it's usually at least another hour before music starts. So now you're kind of feeling that out, and you're kind of talking to people against the rail, or you're wandering around and you're just checking out merch and that kind of thing. So again, that experience just was everything to us, and music didn't even start yet.
Yeah.
And then the concert, then after the show, you're hanging around and just kind of doing the whole fan thing, like waiting for the bands to come out and talk and sign things. And we did that. So we'd go to a show at, let's say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't leave there till 1 in the morning for, like, a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what was the cool thing about that experience as just fans for us. And then everything just evolved from there. But to me, the atmosphere of a live show is so incredible. And you were talking about the people and photographing the crowds. Yeah, I mean, I like to believe that my life, as it's been for the last 19 years, is so much more about being part of the music scene than just being a photographer.
Yeah.
Taking photos for me is just one piece of the puzzle, but to me it's about you. It's about that connection. It's about going to a show and having a conversation with another human being. I think that we live in a society today that there's so little human interaction, and I wish that wasn't the case. But so for me, going to live shows, it gives me hope that there are people out there that care about other people, and that we could sit there and actually have conversations about life. And I could walk out of a show at the end of the night that I talked to somebody the whole time and not even know their name. And that's cool. It doesn't matter, because I am going to remember that conversation. And even if it's a month later or 3 years later, it's those conversations that when this is all done for me, that's what's going to mean the most.
Yeah.
Right? I'll have the photos to look back on, but at the end of the day, I want to remember the people. I want to remember those faces that I saw when I walked into a venue and, we gave that smile or that high five or that fist bump or that hug. And just that to me is everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the music scene. It brings all of that together.
So you said that you started off as like a dance club boy. Can I ask you how you got into concert photography, and then like how you kind of landed your gig at the Pony?
Yeah, so I mean, again, photography for me was not even a thought process. It was not a plan. It's not something I ever set out to do. I was just another bozo on the bus that decided to start taking my son to concerts as a father-son bonding thing. It was nothing more than that. But the good side of it was we both knew that we didn't have any rhyme or reason of what shows we were going to. It wasn't like, oh, I like that band, let's go see them. It wasn't about that. It was about, there's a show tonight, let's just go. Right? And so when Starland Ballroom became a thing for me, which kind of happened through my wife, we just said, let's just go to every show and see what happens.
Now that's something that I really feel like you can't do, that you don't do now.
Right, correct. So, because back in my day, there was no social media. So nobody went to a show because that band was playing. You went to a show because it was a night out. You didn't have the opportunity to look it up online and say, oh, I don't like the way they look, I'm not going, which people do today, right? So that was not what I wanted it to be about. I wanted to go to the show. I didn't even want to look up who was playing because I didn't want to know how they sounded. I didn't want to know what kind of show it was based on genre. I just wanted to go and have that experience. So there were some shows that were, older, that were more my era. Then there was these newer shows that I've never heard of. I mean, in terms of genre specific, that was never exposed to me.
Yeah.
So would it be emo or punk, hardcore? That never existed in my world back in the day. So when I saw my first emo band, which was called Kill Hannah, which was a song called Lips
Hannah.
Like Morphine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was absolutely amazed.
Okay.
And I remember saying to my son, holy shit, Like, this is so cool. And so that's what it was about. Photography for me at that time was just like any other fan would be doing, taking a point and shoot camera and just taking some pictures. And there was no other rhyme or reason for it. The pictures weren't good. They were just to document what we were doing. And then years went on. We were doing this now for like 3, 4, 5 years, doing maybe 100, 150 shows a year. And just for whatever reason, everybody that worked at the venue, everybody that knew us, just started to take an interest in the photos. They just started to look forward to seeing them at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then I did that for about 8 years straight.
Wow.
As a fan. And I am telling you, we traveled around the entire state of New Jersey following like 3 or 4 local bands and VFWs and Elks Lodges and church basements, people's houses. We did all of that.
Yeah, things that like will not happen now.
Right, we did it. We were just so involved and so immersed in the scene that our lives just changed.
Yeah.
Changed right on a dime. And so after about 8 years, a lot of the photographers that I met along the way at Starland just started egging me on.
Okay.
They were just like, why don't you just do it professionally?
That's
You're here every show anyway. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I just like coming here and doing my thing.
I will say, every Starland show I've ever been to, you've been there.
But eventually, it wore on me, and they were like, no, they go reach out to some bands and see if they'll give you a photo pass. And I swear, I must have reached out to probably a dozen bands with not a single response.
Yep.
And so then they said, oh, you got to find a publication to shoot for. And I'm like, oh, now this is becoming like a whole big thing. But anyway, I remember I was going through Facebook and this post popped up. I didn't know who they were, but I remember going into the About section and there was an email, and I shot an email over and I said, hey, this is what I do with my son. Maybe I could write reviews for you or something. Yeah. And the lady wrote me back and she basically said, I love what you do with your son. How about I put you down as a staff photographer?
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what does that mean? Like, what do I do next? And so it turned out at that time, it was one of the biggest publications in the country.
Dude.
Called AMP Magazine.
Okay.
And they had a sister magazine called Hails and Horns, which was for the metal side. So anyway, they had a great reputation with every publicist out there, management company, venue. So from that day forward, I shot every single show that came through Starland Ballroom. I think I shot probably 60, 70 shows in the next 100 days. And I was just fucking insane. Like, I was now remember, I was already doing this for 8 years, so everybody knew me. I was already a very well-known person in the local scene with my son. Yeah. So now when I came into Starland Ballroom, that first show, and they saw me walk in the photo pit, 2,000 people was screaming my name. Aww. Like, it was like they were so excited to see me now on that side of the barricade. Wow. So it just became such a cool way of being me. Yeah. And I just, and I think, and as a younger adults, I think we all spend our lives. Some of us are lucky and find it early, but some of us never do. Yeah. But I think we all spend every day of our lives trying to find something that makes us who we are. And this was it for me. Like, and I first started doing this in my 40s. Like, I was already in my 40s when I found the thing that made perfect sense for me as a human being. Yeah. And that's what I love about it. So even though I'm an older dude, like, I just love the communication I have with people. I love that I could go to any show in the state and people will know me. Yeah. And I could feel comfortable being human. And I don't have to put on a persona, and I don't have to put on a fake profile, and I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. And because that's so not me, and I never ever want to be that person. Unfortunately, we see that every day in social media world, and that's never going to be my perspective on it. But so photography just became something else that allowed me to kind of just thrive as a person.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have a question that we can ask you if you want to continue to talk about that. How do you keep photography from feeling like a 9-to-5 corporate job, and like how do you keep it feeling like art? Because I think that we definitely are like working on that, because we've just been working so hard for the past year, like on the magazine, but we want to make sure we're still having fun like we were when we started it.
So I think for me, it is my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So, but because it's, I think the main reason for me is because the passion is still 1,000,000,000% there.
Right.
So, and everybody always asks me, now I'm doing this now between a fan and professionally about 19 years. So everybody always asks me what's next. And my answer always is, right now, I'm still out there photographing 365 shows a year.
Yeah.
There is no next.
No, yeah.
There is no next until that stops. And that will never stop until the passion goes away. So, you know, I'm out there every day, and I could tell you that from the second I wake up in the morning, there's nothing more than I want to do than be at a show, taking photographs of live music and being around the people in the scene. There is still every single day of my life, no matter how tired I am, no matter how shitty of a day it might be, when I show up to a show, everything just kicks in. It's that adrenaline rush, so pretty much like a musician would, right? A musician could be so exhausted and then just walk onto that stage, and then they strum that guitar or they hit that drum pad, and everything changes.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. The people, when I go to a show and I see you, and when I went into the lanes that night and you guys were there, my eyes light up. It makes me feel so good about who I am and what I do. I never want that to change or stop.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a specific answer to that for each person, because I think if it's something you love, then you'll want to do it as much as you could. But yeah, for me, it's just the passion is so full blown that I never ever want it to end.
We don't really know where we're going to go next, but recently we were not signed, but we're working with an offset of Universal Music Group. They have a record label called 1824, and they're helping us distribute some work. We're doing some press conferences with them, meeting some artists through them. So that's a very cool partnership, and I can only hope to work with them more, because I think that would be wonderful. I'd love to work on the field with them in the future.
Definitely.
And I think we're just being inspired by other magazines. That's all you can really be. We're putting out some new merch, and kind of going through redesign as we've turned one, keeping what we like, discarding what we don't, and just working on communication.
That's awesome. So what I love about that is, you're talking about doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. And I'm going to tell you, because the trends from when I started to now are so different in terms of how the industry works, and in terms of how, and I'll start with photographers, in terms of what I see out there now in terms of the younger photographers. So, every now and then it's so nice and refreshing to see young ladies like you that are out there just enjoying what you're doing. But I see a whole wave of photographers now that really don't give two shits about the industry, and all they care about is that they just want to find a publication because they want to shoot their favorite band, or they want to get into shows for free. And I understand that is what it can be about in many occasions, but I think it's horrible that this trend of how the photography world has changed has come to that.
Yeah.
Right? So you have these publications out there, which now, unfortunately, they're a dime a dozen, right? There's billions of them. Some really good, some not. But they're allowing just anybody and their mother photograph for them, even if they don't know them or know anything about them. And they're not doing their research, so they're letting these fly-by-night people just shoot shows for them. And at the end of the day, you don't know if that photographer is an asshole or not. And I'm watching a lot of bands now restrict us people like myself from getting a photo pass because they're locking it down to just their one tour photographer because they had a bad experience with one of those rogue photographers. And yes, I started off the same way. Yes, I shot for publications. Yes, I made some mistakes along the way and learned from them. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be somebody that protected the industry. I wanted to be somebody that was out there making sure that the photographers that I'm around or the photographers that reach out to me for info are doing it what I don't want to say the right way because there's obviously more than one way to do it, but at least doing it in a way that they're caring about the industry and they're not out there trying to devalue the industry in some way, shape, or form. So, when people reach out to me about, hey, Jeff, who do I call at the Pony to get a photo pass? My answer is click, because that's not what you asked me.
No.
If you want to ask me how I got to be the house photographer, if you want to ask me what I did to get to where I am today, that's a conversation I will be more than happy to sit down over a cup of coffee and have that talk with you. But please don't ask me who my contacts are, because that shows me right off the bat you don't care about the industry. All you care about is getting into your favorite show. So I get that a lot, unfortunately. I got to where I am from sheer hard work and passion. And I know that things are different now, but that's not the world I came from. Like I said, I busted my ass for 8 straight years on just going to live shows and just immersing myself in the local music scene and becoming friends with everybody and bonding and learning who's out there, what's going on in the music world. And I did that for 8-9 years. And I tell people all the time, if you're not willing to go to local shows and find that out for yourself, then I can't help you. Yeah. I can't help you if you're not willing to put the work in. So it's about that. And in terms of Disaster Magazine, I don't know kind of a lot about it. I did look at, I did go on the website and peeked around a lot, and I think it's cool. But if there's any way that I could help you, I would be more than happy to, even if local shows that I'm at and you're not, and you want to use that content, I don't have a problem with that. If it's a band or a show that you guys would be interested in, because I don't know specifically if there's certain styles of music that you guys deal with or not. But if there's anything I could do to help, I'd be more than happy to. So for me, it's all about just putting yourself out there and utilizing your, in my case, my personality, I'm a people person. Yeah. So I love to be around people. I love to talk about life. I love to talk about interest. I love to talk about what people's dreams are, what their passions are. And I think music, for me, kind of is that connecting piece. Totally. So it's all about that.
And I definitely want to reiterate, there is no live music without local music.
Yes. Right, of course.
And also what you were saying, if you are going to shoot a show and it is one of your first times or it's your first time, the internet and other photographers are your biggest helper. Please look up how to be respectful. Remember, do not shoot with flash. Only shoot the first 3 songs. Wear a respectful outfit, because even though this is a concert that you're going to, you are going to it as a job. Right. And just be respectful of other people in the crowd. If people are asking you questions, answer them. If they're trying to get you to do things for them, don't, unless they're passing out and they need water and you have free water. That's wonderful. But if they're take me back there with you, you can't do that. But if they're saying, how did you get that pass? That's so cool. Can you take a picture and send it to me? Yes. Just be respectful to people, because if you are a concert photographer, you should also be a concert goer. I don't know how you're not a concert goer if you're a concert photographer. So just be respectful.
I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of the beauty in your pictures is that you have that such a strong core base of you were the fan and you were in the audience. So I feel like that really translates through your pictures. They all have an energy of their own, and you can feel the connection through them. So, I think that's really cool. This sound check is really nice.
Do you have anything else to say?
I think we got some really cool stuff. So like I said, it's just, and what you just said is so important to me because, like, even though, like, let's say we get to shoot those first 3 songs, which is awesome, but I got to tell you something. I can't wait till those 3 songs are done and I could go in the crowd and just hang with everybody and see all those people that I love to see at shows and just chill with them and just kind of enjoy that moment with them because I'm a fan of music just like everybody else. So I want to experience both sides of the coin. So I definitely love that part of it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of it. Unless there's anything else you want to know about me but I think we kind of covered a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you doing this. It's always fun to hear a different perspective from other people. And can't wait to see you at another show.